Hello there, my name is Brian Fisher and welcome to episode 11 of Hoops and Dreams QPR Podcast. We also happen to be covering, as well as the usual, everything for the last few games of the season and a summary of the season. So welcome to you all. As this is the end of the season, I have been joined by James, who goes under the name of Northwest Hoop on the Hoops and Dreams Forum, and is actually the creator of the forum. So welcome to you, James.
Thank you, Brian. Always a pleasure to be in.
My second guest is Dave, who is the superb editor of these podcasts. Dave does his best to gloss over all of my mistakes, and a very warm welcome to you as well, Dave.
Well, thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me on.
Good. Hey, during this podcast, we'll be reviewing the last three games of the 2021-22 season. Before going on to look at the past season as a whole and providing our player awards and discussing perhaps the manager's position as well. Hopefully you'll find this discussion interesting and what ended up really in being a rather bizarre season for the R's. I should mention that this podcast is available on both the excellent Hoops and Dreams QPR Podcast Forum. It is also available on YouTube. Whichever method you like to use, we would appreciate your comments attached below. Thank you very much, and a warm welcome to you all. So our first match that we're going to review of the three is Stoke. This was on Saturday the 23rd, and the hope was that the win at Derby would be the springboard to our recovery. We played an attacking side and certainly pushed Stoke hard, but just as the half-time whistle loomed, a goal-mouth melee resulted in a Stoke goal. It was after a corner that should really have been sorted out. We've been going through this all season, worried about the corners. It was an easy tap-in for Stoke, but despite everything we did in the second half, including swapping Dykes and Amos for Austin and Adoma, the one goal was enough to sink us. So let's start with you, James. This was meant to be the first of three matches to try and claw us back into the playoff places. What happened to make this chance instead mission impossible?
Everything. It was a nightmare performance, wasn't it? To not even have a shot on target when it was last chance saloon was embarrassing, really. Like, to go from a team at the start of the season that was having, I know we lost a match against Bristol City, but I think we had 27 shots in one match or something like that game, and to go from that to not even be able to muster much of an effort at all. I know Thomas hit the post, didn't he? But yeah, keeper had that covered. It was just terrible. What a terrible performance to round off that terrible period. And it was so flat at the end, wasn't it? Everyone knew the season was then over. I know it was a long shot anyway, but I think everyone was just hoping we'd get something from that match, that the Sheffield United match at least had something riding on it. But we just went down without a fight, didn't we? And it's very, very frustrating considering where we were just 2-3 months ago.
It is. I mean, Dave, after this defeat, we stayed 10th. But that loss was really it for the season. So what could Warburton have done differently?
Yeah, well, I just thought that on the day they were just so lacklustre and so slow on the ball. It was just such a disappointing performance. I thought, like, team selection-wise, I found it a bit odd that he played Sanderson at right back rather than Kakai, who's one of our own players. I don't think Kakai is brilliant or would have won us the game or anything, but it just seemed a bit of an odd to play a centre-half out of position when you already had players there ready. And it just, nothing seemed to work on the day. It weren't really until the last 20 minutes that they kind of pushed on, and I say Thomas hit the post, but they never really looked like scoring today. It was such a disappointing. It was for a must-win game to go out on a whimper like that. So it was just so frustrating.
Yeah, I think whimper about sums it up. I mean, I've got down here that we huffed and puffed our way through the match. But in the end, we came away with a defeat. And in a way, that actual match typifies our whole season. We huffed and puffed through the whole season. We didn't really get our just desserts, perhaps, but I don't think we ever did enough for it, really, if truth be known. A great effort by individual players, but not a lot to show for it. Perhaps the least said about that, the better, I think. The second game we're going to review was the following Friday night, our final home game, and that was against Sheffield United. We would still be without Willock, Dieng, Archer, Barbe and Marshall. And we can now add Westwood's name to that list again. This meant that Mahoney stepped in once more, and the under-18s keeper was also on the bench. We also had Field playing at left centre-back alongside Dunn and Sanderson, with Adoma and McCallum as wing-backs. So again, another change. Alongside Johansson and Gazelle, with Chair and Austin up front. There was huge pressure from Sheffield United to stop us playing out from the back, and also to intimidate Mahoney in goal, I think. That pressure provided dividends in the loads of corners that they managed to achieve and lots of opportunities for long throws. However, in the 30th minute, in a reversal of play, the home side made a breakaway. Adoma crossed, followed by Austin heading in. It was too good to be true, it really was. Sadly, that lead at half-time turned out to be a 3-1 defeat at the end. Did you manage to see the game live, Dave, by any chance?
Yeah, I was at this one. I thought we started slowly, which has been a theme all season, but we did grow into the game in the first half. Kind of once we got through their initial storm, I thought we did okay, and obviously took the lead. I thought it was Austin rolled back the years a bit with his movement at the far post, and it shows if you put quality crosses in, maybe he could still score goals, but obviously it was his last game for us. But I thought as it went on, we kind of just got overrun in midfield, which is a bit of a worry because the midfield, you assume, are all going to be there next year. Johansson in particular had a really poor game, I thought, especially second half. And defending set pieces, it's been such a problem since Dieng has been out. I thought it was 2 poor goals to give away in the second half. I mean, the Jack Robinson one, you could see it coming. They've tried it before as well. Just not reacting to it. It was just really poor defending. I felt sorry for the keeper. He had a really good game, to be fair to him, considering his home debut. And they're obviously targeting him. But they deserved to win second half. They were much the better side. I thought it was interesting that because we knew beforehand that Warburton was going, there was a big applause for the team at the end, and everything was all happy and thanking him. I think if we didn't know he was going, it might have been quite different, because that was pretty abysmal, to be honest. But
I think the thing here to bear in mind is that Sheffield United have got an awful lot of class built into there. I mean, they've come down, with that, and they've built upon it, and they're a good, solid side. They've been almost a steady Eddie. They've gone through the whole season and improving as they've gone along, to be quite honest. And we lost a side that had a game plan to stop our flow. We weren't going to change the way we play. They were determined to make sure we did. And they were forcing errors left, right and centre by the pressure. Fair dues to the guys. They kept up trying to play out from the back. They did their best. And you're right, Mahoney was superb. He really is a class goalie. We've done well with that. And we know that that Dykes and Field upfield, their long balls just doesn't work. The press upon us only made it more difficult, I think, for the players, especially Field and Sanderson as centre backs, to move the ball forward. And if you don't have players like Dykes and Field up front, who is going to hold that ball up for you? I think that was the big problem we had. Even when they forced us into long balls, we were in a position where we couldn't do anything with them. When we tried to play short, they were on us. So it was a good game plan. My concern really was that the R's didn't have an answer to these tactics. I think that was really the thing that concerned me the most. And, it was obvious that Dazelle was not sparking at his best. And as a result, Amos was actually trying to do too much, which again is not a good thing. Charlie Austin seems to have been given that chance to say his farewell, and of course he said it with a goal, which is a beautiful way to do it. But my question, I guess, is why didn't we strengthen knowing our opposition? Why didn't we strengthen our defensive midfield with Don Ball? We had him available. If you have to put Field into the back, Why not put Don Ball there to strengthen it? And either Dazelle or Amos would have gone. I'm at a loss on this anyway. And obviously Johansson. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say any more about Johansson, right? James, there was no doubt that this was a closely fought match. But why do you think, after grabbing the first goal, everything went wrong?
Well, you say closely fought. It wasn't really closely fought after half time, was it? My notes here say we didn't get out of our half for about 40 minutes. It was.
That was tactical.
I don't have the stats on it, but I can't remember a match at Loftus Road where we didn't get out of our half for so long. Even if we tried a long ball, it wasn't even getting near the halfway line. We were just literally. It was Murphy Mahoney versus Sheffield United. It was a poor second half. It kind of encapsulated our season. We first half were leading, and then the second half we just disappeared without a trace, didn't we? It was really bad. I know Dunn hit the bar with like a really fluky kind of deflected half effort, but that was the first time we'd been out of our half in the half. It was I thought we were poor that match. Like you said, multiple decisions. You have to question, why did he not just play forward to back to keep field where he's been so effective? Why didn't he play ball? And I completely agree with what Dave said, and I've seen him put it on the forum before. After that match, it would have been a very different atmosphere if Warburton was still not been announced yet that he was leaving at the end of the game, because everyone was, like you say, happy, clapping him off. And rightly so, but if he was meant to be still the manager, I think it would have been a very different vibe, because we literally got battered in that second half. It could have been 4-5-1 if it wasn't for Mahoney.
Yeah, I
think
can't.
a lot of
Go on, Dave.
No, I was going to say, I think a lot of the people who stayed at the end of the game to clap him off, I think would have gone if they didn't know he was going. I think when they took it as a chance to say goodbye to him and a few of the players.
Yeah, and I think he deserved it as well for that.
Oh yeah.
I think it would be fair to say that almost all of the fans are stunned by what's happened. So, and we'll probably never know the real reasons behind it. But anyway, so we went to Stoke knowing that, yes, as you say, that Mark Warburton was going to go. Sorry, going to go to Swansea. That's where we're going next. We've been to Stoke. And this was a match really that meant little to either side, if truth be known. It wasn't going to get us into the playoffs, and it wasn't going to get them relegated. So nobody was too worried about the match. That may explain why there was no Dunn or Johansson. I've got no inside knowledge on why they weren't even on the bench. And Ball and Amos replaced them. There were 2 goalies on the bench, which has got to be a first, I think. I mean, I know we've got problems with injuries with goalies, but that amount of cover is quite exceptional. So the result was, as I predicted on the forum, 1-0. So I feel quite happy about that. And that gave us 66 points and 11th place at the end of the season. This was our last chance to grab some honour from a dismal end to what had been a promising season up until January. It was a game between 2 possession-based sides, so pretty much open, but Swansea seemed to be keen to retain possession rather than actually do something with the ball. That all changed in the second half when I've got down McCallum, but I don't think it was McCallum, it was Ball, wasn't it, who passed it long down the left wing to find Chair, who fed Gray to tap it in. After that, Swansea were more positive in their play, but the R's kept them out, just about. James, did having Ball as the central centre-back and Thomas starting instead of Gray or Austin surprise you?
The Ball selection did surprise me. I'm happy he did play because it was nice for him to get a last match, but it did surprise me because he's just not been involved at all, has he? He's had a lot of matches where he's not even been on the bench, the poor fella. No wonder he's leaving. But yeah, Thomas as well. I've been impressed with Thomas. I think I might have said the last time I was on the podcast that he was underused at that point. Every time he comes on, he's dynamic. He offers a bit of pace. He helps to press. And some matches he was coming on and having an impact. And then the next match he wasn't even on the bench. So again, I'm glad that he's had a few starts. And I know he can't score if he. I don't know, he's never going to score for QPR, is he? But I was impressed with both of them yesterday. I'm glad that Warburton got that win to finish the reign. But But yeah, we hadn't really threatened until we scored. We have to be honest. It was mostly Swansea, wasn't it? But I had a rant about Swansea. I was on the podcast after we played Swansea last time, and I had a bit of a rant about Swansea. And so I won't go into all that again. But my lord, they are dreadful to watch, aren't they? Those funny goal kicks they do where they pass it out and the goalie goes running out of his box. It's just, and then he just passes it back to the other fella, and then they end up going long anyway once you press, don't they? It's so strange. I wouldn't like to watch them.
I think if you're going to play it out from the back like that, and as you say, fully engage the goalie as another passing player, okay, it's risky, but then you've got to do something with it to move it forward, make somebody come towards you and create space behind that person to move the ball out. And that's where they stopped. The first thing they then did was move left or right, and then eventually back to the goalie, as you say. I don't know. So do you agree that QPR grew into this game, James?
Well, like I said then, we didn't really threaten, I didn't feel, until we scored the goal. I was actually about to put a post on the forum at the time, and I had to delete it saying we're not creating anything, and I had to change it to grey 1-0. so I don't think we were growing into the game too much, but obviously we did grow because we scored. But
I think from then onwards we were good. From after we scored, I think we did seem to improve.
Yeah, there was only 10 minutes left, I suppose.
I think that's one of the things, sort of as an aside here, one of the things that we have had with this side this season. They've either started off very well, which is quite rare, they sometimes do, but more often than not, their second half and often their second half of the second half is a much better performance. They're like a slow burner. I don't know quite why that is. Anyway, James, I know that you were, sorry, Dave, I know that you were at the game. What was the atmosphere like?
It was really good. Yeah, I wasn't too sure what to expect, to be honest. I thought it might just be about 10 of us in the away end, but there was quite a good turnout.
It was 700.
It was really good, and the support was really good all game, really loud. Everyone was really supportive of the team. It was really good. It was kind of, all like you said about a Swansea start. I thought it was really tedious, a lot of it, just to the centre half, back to the keeper, and then he'd kind of dawdle about on it and then just kick it straight back to us. And then if he did find a teammate, they'd usually just give it back to him. He'd be like, God, just do something with it. I mean, their fans were really frustrated with it because they kept announcing during the game that the team would come out for a lap of honour similar to us last week. And the stadium was genuinely empty. It was only us in there at the final whistle. They'd all gone. And it was just us and the QPR players come over to us at the end. I don't think they're overly impressed with it. But I thought Don Ball had a really good game at the back. It's great. So it was good to see him play. And having Senny the end back, I thought made such a difference to us. I think he is a major part of why we've collapsed. Just like we've already mentioned, like the set piece goals we've conceded. We never looked like conceding from a set piece yesterday with him goal. We were able to play it from the back a lot easier. We just looked so much a better team. I'm sure there's a lot more to it than just Dieng not playing and why it's all gone wrong. But I think we've really missed him, and he made a big difference yesterday.
That's a very good point about Semi Dieng not being available and the team at that point struggling. You're absolutely right. Mahoney's covered tremendously when he's been there, and obviously is one for the future. I think the thing about Semi is that his general all-round play is good. I think the only thing that I would possibly be a bit negative about him is he doesn't dominate his goal area verbally or whatever. But if you consider that he had in front of him Don Ball playing in centre-back position, the interaction was really good. You're absolutely right to mention that. And it shows the versatility that we've got with Don Ball. And therefore, for me, he's the ideal player to have on the bench. He can cover centre-back, defensive midfield. I've even seen him in attacking midfield before. I'm at loss sometimes. You know, we were talking about why players not on the bench. He's the one I'd have had on the bench always.
He's been really underused, hasn't he? Second half of the season. I don't get why he hasn't played a lot more. It's a shame he's going as well.
Yeah. James, the other thing I was going to mention is the fact that we regard our team as in transition. We often say that because it's been 3 years since we've done anything meaningful. But you could equally say the same of Swansea, couldn't you? They are in transition as well.
Well, yeah, they've only had their manager for 1 year. We've had ours for 3, so they're more in flux than we are. I mean, obviously we're about to change again, but I just felt with Swansea, they played us twice, they didn't score, and they would have had more possession. It's almost like they don't quite know what they're supposed to be doing at certain phases of their play. Because I found yesterday, every time they got to the edge of the 18-yard box, they seemed to make the wrong decision. I don't know whether it's like they're trying to play a certain way, but it's not been programmed into them yet. Maybe it'll click next season. I don't know, but they would like get to the edge of the box, and then there's a man literally there to pass to. He could shoot, and they like turn back round and reverse the play. And I don't know. They're a very, very strange team. Very strange team.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, the other thing I was going to say, Dave, is did Jack Robinson get a good acclaim from our fans?
Oh, Ryan Manning, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, Brian Manning.
Yeah, he got a good reception. I think he did one crossfield pass that went straight out of play. I think that was a highlight for us. So we got plenty of stick.
I heard that cheer. Yes.
Yeah.
Very ironic.
Yeah, he wasn't at his best, so to say.
No, luckily. And he was probably their star player.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so those 3 league games, as far as the stats go, we won 1, we lost 2. Our position at the end of it was 11th. Total points gained were 3. And goals scored were 2 and goals conceded 4. So a -2 goal difference over those 3 games. Our final goals for the season were 60 for us and 59 against, so pretty much equal. And if you look at the league position, it about sums up the right place for us. Can't argue about that. So an end to a dismal season, perhaps, for us, really. After making so much progress in the other 2 seasons under Warburton, the wheels really did come off in the last part of this season. We went from second, the dizzy heights of second, and 4th, a regular 4th slot, right the way down to 11th. Anyway, there we go. Now's a good time, I think, to review how the players did and ask you for your player of the season. Start with you, James, I suppose.
There's only one answer, isn't there? I think for most of us, that's Chris Willock. Dave's absolutely right what he was saying about Senny Dieng, how much he was missed, but we did miss Chris Willock. I know we were already on the way down before he got injured, but what a player he was this season for us. He got 11 assists. That's more assists than we had someone score goals. Don't forget, it's amazing. He just got that. He's starting to remind me more and more of Berriese, the way he plays. He's got that turn. He's not particularly fast, but he just seems to drift past people, and the way he takes the ball in, they think he's going and he's drifted the other way. And he's just a joy to watch. He's the type of player you'd be devastated if he leaves, because you just want to see him wearing a QPR shirt more next season. And maybe the fact that he's been injured will enable him to stay. But yeah, definitely Chris Willock, and he's probably far away the player of the year for me.
Dave, you agree? You're nodding.
Yeah, definitely Willock. I think other ones you could mention is Barbe. I think's had a good season.
Yes.
I think Jimmy Dunn's had a good season, and Dieng. But as James said, Willock's been by far our best player. And yeah, like I say, we really missed him when he got injured. I think if he'd have stayed fit, I don't think we'd have made the top 6. I think we'd have probably gone a little bit closer than we ended up being. He was a big loss at that time, especially in that game when we were winning at the time against Forest and playing really well. And then that kind of seemed to all fall apart that night.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I had either Dunn or Willock down because Dunn has been the surprise of the season, I think, in a lot of ways. I think Willock, we all knew he was good, but Dunn improved as the season went on, if anything. But yeah, I went for Willock as well. So no great surprise there. Okay, I'll let him know. Worst player of the season? I mean, given that every player makes their mistakes, but I think it's the ability to learn from those mistakes and not repeat them that makes a good player. However, that situation doesn't apply to my 2 choices, Osman Kake and Charlie Austin. Oh, God, I know I'm going to get all the hate mail now. Whether Mark Warburton realised that Charlie Austin, the one that we all loved, and he wanted to sign him because he felt he still had the capability, I don't know. But he hasn't fulfilled the promise that we hoped for. And it's a great shame. In a way, I almost wish he didn't come back, because I've got such fond memories of Charlie, and he just didn't deliver. And Osman, no matter what anybody says to me, I cannot believe he is actually Championship level. And he needs to go out to a League One side as soon as possible, as far as I'm concerned. So, Dave, what do you think? Who's your worst player?
I went with Jeff Hendrick for my pick. Mainly because he come in at a time where we were doing really well, and he was a Premier League player, a lot of experience, and it kind of made sense to bring him in a little bit, I suppose, with like a job share with Johansson in midfield. But I just don't think he offered anything in any game I saw, and he was just so poor. He slowed the team down. He's been such a disappointment. So yeah, I'd pick him out as the worst one, really. It was, yeah, I just think he's played a part. I think he's become a bit of a scapegoat, to be fair to him. I don't think it's his fault that it all fell apart, but he certainly didn't deliver. I thought he was really poor when he played.
Do you think perhaps he was brought in as an emergency cover for Johansson because there is a problem with Johansson that we don't know about? Because I can't see the reason why he's suddenly faded away this season.
Quite possibly.
Maybe Warburton said, got to get somebody in, and Jeff Hendricks was the only one available. I don't know.
It made sense on paper. It made sense if Johansson was having injury problems, but the way it turned out, he come in at a time when Amos was just starting to really get into his groove, and then Amos was left out for about a month. And you just think we might as well just stuck with Amos and Dazelle and that, which is how the season's ended up, and we've been better for it, I think, to be honest, the last few weeks.
James, you agree?
Yeah, to be honest, the worst player of the season to me should just be titled the Jeff Hendrick Award. He's definitely the worst player I've seen in a QPR shirt this season. I don't even think I saw him make a forward pass. He was dreadful, especially that Luton match where he was like falling over his own feet and giving it away. He was shocking. And like you just said, literally, we didn't need him. Even if there was injury worries over Johansson, the one area we've been blessed since Field came back is central midfield. We couldn't even fit Ball on the bench after we signed Hendrick, so why did we need Hendrick? And obviously you meant to be developing Dazelle, he just got in the way for Dazelle, probably harmed his confidence. The whole signing situation and the way he played was just a nightmare, wasn't it? And he's if you're going for worst player, it was Jeff Hendrick for me.
Yeah, I'd love to know the dynamics behind who wanted him in, whether it was Warburton or Celez. Anyway, we'll never know.
I wish we could find that out. Because it would be very interesting. It'd tell you a lot about the dynamics, wouldn't it, if you could find out who that was.
After all this time of sort of doing all this, I've no idea how the dynamics work. I'll try at some point to get Celez on, and we can try asking again, see if we can get an answer. Okay, I've got the best signing. We're talking here, I suppose we're talking both permanent and non-permanent. So best signing?
I'd go with Jimmy Dunn for me for best signing.
Okay.
I think coming in on a free, I hadn't really heard of him before he come in. I think he was kind of brought in as a backup defender, and he's ended up being one of our best defenders. I think he's had a really good season. He's the kind of player you want to see us getting. Someone who's young, on the up, haven't paid much for him, and he's become a really good player for us. So yeah, I'd go Dunn. I think he's the best one for me.
Okay. For me, it should have been Austin or Johansson. They were the obvious people I'd expect to be our best signing. I've gone controversially again for Mahoney because I thought he was fantastic. Okay, Dave, you've said yours, I've said mine. James?
For me, it's Sam Field, mainly because for me now he's almost become if I was picking a QPR team, they said you're the manager for the day, he'd be probably my first name on the team sheet because know he's like become the linchpin in midfield, hasn't he? He's got a few elements he can improve in his game, but he needs to probably develop like a bit of a half turn. He tends to pass back a bit too much if it comes into someone on him. But he's exactly what we need in that area of the pitch. And he's again like Jimmy Dunn. Jimmy Dunn's obviously would be second for me, but they're young. I think he's 24 this week, isn't he? So what a signing to have if we can keep developing him. We're gonna have him for his best years if he can stay injury free. I really like Sam Field.
Yeah, that's great. These are all good ones, I reckon. Best moment. So I'll go with you, James, as you've just finished.
I didn't want to choose this because it was only it was a cup match, but I still think my favourite moment of the season was when we beat Everton in the cup. I mentioned it at Christmas when we did the best moments of 2021, but so I didn't really want to choose it again. But I just, as the whole season as a whole, I loved that it was under the lights. The penalties going to like 10-9 or 9-8 or whatever they were, and it was just fabulous to beat Everton under the lights. If it wasn't that, and I had to choose a league moment, I would have gone for Austin when he scored the last-minute winner against West Brom. Because that was that moment in the season when you thought we were really onto something special, and there was nothing better as a QPR fan than Charlie Austin scoring a last-minute winner, and it had those iconic images of Barbie with the blood pouring out of his head, and it was just that match was a special moment in the season as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have to say, your best moment there is exactly the same as mine. I said probably winning on penalties in the FA Cup rounds. It was pure theatre, absolutely pure theatre. Okay, Dave, top that.
Well, I went with the Coventry away game in January. So often I've been to away games over the years, and you have lacklustre defeats. And I think that day we didn't play particularly well, but the atmosphere and everyone was kind of in it together, and we won it late. And honestly, after that game, I think everyone who left that stadium thought we were going to get promoted. We were all bought right into it, and obviously, I didn't work out in the end, but for that day, it was a massive high. But I'd forgotten about the Everton game. That was so long ago. I'd probably go with that as well.
Okay,
that was a good night as well.
So we're going from the highest to the lows here. Worst match, James?
I'm sticking in that cup. I'm going with that Sunderland match. That's still hurting me now. I was so desperate for us. I was so desperate for us to get through that match and get to a quarter final, and we could have gone to the Emirates with probably 10,000 fans or something. It would have been. I know we'd have lost probably 5-0, but losing that Sunderland match was a killer. Again, if you have to go for the league, it would be that little run where we were losing Barnsley, Peterborough at home, that match when they moved it to the Sunday and then we lost anyway 3-1. That was a low moment because you kind of knew at that point, although it wasn't mathematically over, that match killed us. The atmosphere, the players, the way they went off at the end, they would like they wanted to hang their heads in shame, wasn't it? But you felt a bit sorry for them. Just something was gone at that point, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's funny you should mention that Peterborough one. That's the one I've gone for. Yeah, I really was a low point for me. And Dave?
Yeah, any of the 3 Peterborough defeats, they were all abysmal. The league game was terrible, the cup game was shocking, and then that home defeat was season ending. So, yeah, right. Any of them 3.
Okay.
I'm glad they've gone down, so we haven't got to go there next year.
Right, okay. And the last one that we're going to go through is best goal of the season. I'll go first because it comes from an unlikely source. Mine was Dickie's goal against Oxford, that superb long-range shot where he surged forward and banged it in from quite a long way out. Totally superb. And for a defender to do that, I thought that was fantastic. So, Dave?
That was a good one, yeah. I loved Willock's goal at Blackpool, but I went with Andre Gray at Derby. Just the turn, the finish, I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
It was a good turn. Yeah,
such a good goal. It's such a unique one as well. It's not a goal you see that often scored like that.
No, you don't. James, what about you?
Yeah, the Andre Gray one. I think the context that it was last minute as well. To win away from home 2-1, we were in that run where we were unbeaten and flying. So everything about it just made it an even better goal, didn't it? I think if he did that in like the 12th minute, it wouldn't have been as special as him doing it in the last minute.
It would not. No. All right. Okay. So coming up in future podcasts, we've got a ranking of the players who've managed 5 or more starts. Those with less than 5, it's just not worth doing them. So we've gone through the squads, and in 2 separate podcasts coming up. Podcast number 1 will focus upon the defenders, and podcast number 2 will focus upon the attackers. So look out for those in the first half in about 2 weeks' time, and the second half in a month's time on the Hoops and Dreams forum or on our YouTube channel. And that about wraps it up for this podcast. So thank yous to my two guests, Dave and James. Thank you very, very much. My name is Brian Fisher, and this has been a rather subdued end of the season Hoops and Dreams Forum. Thank you very much.
We know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.